Hey guys, welcome back for another week of Power Rankings with the Ice Hockey Aussies. We'll jump straight into it and I'll get us underway with our pick number 32. I don't think it's any surprise. It's the only team in the NHL not to win a game yet. It's the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, it's pretty standard 32. Not gonna lie, mine's the same.
Oh, like what else can you say really? Like they've not registered a win yet. They've only managed the 7 goals in the season, which still isn't the lowest amount of goals scored by a team. Washington's got that, but San Jose has played the extra game. But yeah, 5 games, no wins. You've got 1 point. You've scored 7 goals. It's it's not a good recipe, but it's not it's not unexpected
Yeah,
because I think we all know the Sharks are probably going to finish no higher than 30th in the standings. So, yeah,
well,
no
they're also like
surprises.
conceding the most shots. I think their average is around 39 or something like that. And honestly, it shows how good their goaltending has been for how much they're not getting blown out of the park. I think McKenzie's looking like the number one, which is really good for him in his career at the moment. He's actually above a 900 on a team that is already at negative 13 goal differential. So honestly, that's a really good um, sight for San Jose and seeing if they flip Blackwood at or before the deadline, if his value is really high, because so far he's doing really well. But I guess we can move on to a 31, and I just have to get my rankings up because I had moved them for 1 second, and it's an obvious one. I can't even believe I didn't remember it. So Washington Capitals.
Yeah, I was thinking there's not too many else I could see being at 31.
Mm.
So yeah, I was like, oh, maybe you're pulling a rabbit out of the hat here, but yeah, I've got them at 31 as well.
Yeah, and like you said, lowest scoring team. They've only scored 5 goals, and their one win is through a shootout win. So yeah, it really is what it is. They're probably honestly lucky to be 31st. They are a very slow team. At least San Jose looks a little bit fast and whatnot. So there's not much limelight. Like Ovi hasn't scored a goal. They only have five. Like we said, 5 goals, 4 goal scorers. Only 8 people with points, and Backstrom and Oshie do not have a point, so there's nothing really to celebrate at Washington. You kind of sold the season and whatnot for Ovi's record, and he doesn't have a goal.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they go 500 this week, and you look at that and go, oh, how did they go 500 and still manage to go down in the power rankings? But they haven't dropped a huge amount, but still, it's just around their play style. They just don't look good, and it is a real concern because I think I said to you the other day, I was like, you know, they don't look like scoring and. Ovi still needs 70-ish goals to break that record. And if he goes 20 over the next 3 seasons and his contract's up and misses out on it because he just doesn't have the players there with him, um, he's really only got himself and probably Backstrom to blame for, the contracts
Mm.
that they've taken and the cap that they've sort of, you know, eaten up that could have gone into getting them a playmaker or two in from free agency and maybe kept them relevant. But look, it is what it is. We'll see if they can turn it around. But yeah, it doesn't look good for the Capitals at the moment.
No, it really doesn't. But I guess we'll move on to number 30.
All right, moving on to number 30. Moving up a couple of spots, I have the Anaheim Ducks.
Okay. I actually have to check where they are because I don't think they are that low. I have them at 28.
Uh,
They move up
big
4 positions for me. They were dead last week.
Yeah, look, I don't actually I don't mind that because, a big win against the Canes to start the week, that tight loss against the Dallas Stars, and then a tight loss against the Arizona Coyotes. So Coyotes are much improved this year as well, so they're coming up against three pretty strong teams this week, and they've come away with only the 2 points, but a good win against Carolina and two good outings against two reasonably good sides. I mean, Dallas are being touted as one of the favourites in the West, so to take it up to Dallas is a good effort. So I can definitely see why you've moved them up that far.
Yeah.
I just had to settle on 30.
Well,
Um,
well, the crazy thing is they're honestly, besides the Carolina game, which they won, they outshot both Dallas and Arizona. I feel like they're looking better on ice, and like McTavish, Zegras, they're looking good. It's yeah, and they're taking it to, like, this is a really hard schedule: Carolina, Dallas, Arizona, like three really hard teams. It's weird to say that about Arizona, but it is. And they come out with 2 points, which last season and seasons before they probably wouldn't have come out with anything. So yeah, I
they would
like
have got trounced. They
yeah,
wouldn't have been in the games. They would have gotten trounced.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
difference.
So I've liked how they played compared to the teams below them, especially, and that's why they move up four for me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can't disagree with you there. I don't mind that call.
Alrighty, I guess my number 30 is the Edmonton Oilers. It's my big call.
That's a huge call. Wow. I mean, don't get me wrong, I dropped them, but they're 26th for me. But look, I don't hate it. Like I was talking to you last week about having them at 32
Mm,
because I was like they were just disgusting last week and they haven't been much better this week. They've been better. That Nashville win was good, but
yeah,
that's just Edmonton's ability. Um,
yeah. Look, they
but
get
yeah,
3 out of 6 points, but that Nashville win is their only win. They don't finish Winnipeg, which kind of, that's the game that McDavid gets injured in. He's out for 2 weeks. You got Skinner basically throwing the game in a sense with the second goal, and that has been the crux of the team is their goaltending and their defense. It just looks horrendous a lot of the time. The defense and then into the goaltending, and look, you're probably getting a little bit of like college blues, sophomore blues from Skinner because it is his second season, like a full proper season. Yeah, I'm just really worried for the team, especially with McDavid out. Hope maybe it does spark them a bit. This team is a team that goes on runs, like they go on big losses and then big win streaks, and they've done it the last few seasons. So it's probably going to happen again. But I just don't have many good things to talk about them. Um, yeah, like Evander
um,
Kane's post press about going to the box because he's not getting enough minutes. Yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
yeah. Well, it's alarming because a lot of people had said this season for them was cup or bust, and they they don't even look like a playoff team right now. Ekholm was supposed to be the answer in the defensive side of things, and he's good, but that defense is still
I,
got a lot of
I've
holes, mate.
only honestly got to say, I think it's system. I think the coach has got to go. Like at this point,
It
like your defense cannot be uh, like you can have bad players on your defense, but we've seen coaches like look at Philly, like what they're doing with that roster. Like
Yeah.
teams are able to manage with bad players in a good system, and yeah, that defense has been bad for how many years now. So honestly, at this point, I can only throw it at the coach. So and
Look,
and I would
yeah,
throw it at the GM for the type of roster they've put up as well. But I think it's more of a management thing than a player based thing at this point.
yeah, potentially you could 100% be right there because, um, like, I know we crap on Darnell Nurse a lot for the contract he took and the player he is. He's probably 3 mil more than what he deserves, but he's still a reasonably good defender. He's just not a
Yeah,
$9.25 million defender. And Bouchard's got some offensive ability to him, but is it just they don't have the accountability from that accountable system because of the coaching? Because I just like against Philly, you're watching Philadelphia just walk past their defense, and it's
yeah, they
like
they, they play too open. I've noticed there's too much open ice.
100%. And
in
it's
the
like
middle. Yeah.
this isn't a team like yes, Philly are doing well so far this season. They did the same thing last season. Let's see if they keep it up. But Philly's not a team that should be walking through your defense. If Philly's walking through your defense, what are the teams like Vegas, Colorado, New Jersey, bloody Toronto? What are they gonna do with the firepower they have? What are they gonna do to you if
Mm.
the likes of Philadelphia are walking through you? You're
Mm.
going to get absolutely destroyed when you come up against the true firepower teams of the league this season.
Yeah.
It's
So
worrying signs,
it's early in the season. Easy to switch around your season, but it's panic time for Edmonton. That's for sure. But moving on,
especially
I
if
guess then.
McDavid.
Yeah,
Well,
especially
especially if
McDavid.
McDavid turns into if it's longer than the 1 to 2 weeks, which we've seen. But look, it, let's not get too carried away. There's plenty of time to turn this around for Edmonton. It's just not what Edmonton fans would want to be seeing right now. All right, moving on to my 29. I have another team that we probably didn't expect to see down here after last season, the Seattle Kraken.
Alrighty. They are also my 29.
Yeah, I mean, from, reigning champ beaters in the first round to having one win in their first 5 or 6 games to start the season. That's just 6 games, 1 win, 6 games. That's just disgusting. They've got the second worst goal differential in the league. Um, they've only put up the 11 goals in the like. Yeah, what do you got to say about the Seattle Kraken? What's
Well,
changed?
well, the thing is, like, they had probably the hardest schedule of the week. Maybe you could probably say with Colorado, Canes, and then Rangers, all pretty solid, like top 10 teams. Low last year they were like a top 16 team, but that is an extremely hard schedule. They do come out with a win against the Canes, and that is good, a 7-4 win. But they weren't really in it against the Rangers, and then they outshot Colorado, but they still only score the one. So probably 2 out of 6 is probably what you expect from a schedule like that. Maybe 3 out of 6, and it's a hard week. We're gonna have to see how they play once they start versing the middle and lower ends of the table as well to see where they truly lie.
Yeah, I know we said, like goaltending is a worry with Seattle, but yeah, I didn't expect them to start this slow. Um, I'm just wondering if they're having that. I know it's their third season, but after their one, breakout year, I'm wondering if they're having a back to reality sort of start to the season. They had a bit of a dream run. They went like no one really expected them to do what they did last season. No one really paid too much of attention until it was too late, and they'd pretty much wrapped up a playoff spot. So maybe there's just a different approach to Seattle this year, this season compared to last. But
Mm.
yeah, early days.
Yeah, once
We're
again, like
talking.
it's not till like mid-November that you're really kind of solidified kind of way the
Yeah,
ballpark of where you're going to end up. So they got time to turn it around.
100%.
Alrighty, moving on to number 27. I have the just have to double check that. It's the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh yeah, I've got them at 28, so not too much of a difference there.
Yeah, team slightly overperforming from what people thought, but then again, it's everyone just keep talking about Bedard. Once again, another hard week. The Toronto, Colorado, and then Vegas. They get the win over Toronto, a really good win, and then they go and verse Colorado, get absolutely trounced, and then they go against Vegas, and it
Yeah,
was a pretty close game, but it is Vegas, and Vegas get over the line. So really, once again, really hard schedule. They come out with a win, really good. That's why they move up 2 spots for me. But I honestly, there's still a lot of holes in the system, the team, and this is kind of the ballpark where I expect them to stay for the rest of the season.
yeah, 100%. I don't think Bedard's gonna do what people thought he was gonna do. I think everyone was like, yeah, Bedard's gonna come in and I was hearing some people talking like, oh, it could be a big turnaround, and can Chicago be um, just a wild card, just or potentially get that wild card spot because of Bedard coming in and stuff like that. And I was like, look, I get he's supposed to be a superstar, but like, let's not get too crazy because that Chicago team is not great. They don't have a great goaltender. Their defense is questionable. They don't really have too much in terms of forward line. So, one player is not going to just turn you around. Yeah, you take Bedard out, potentially Chicago's 32nd and completely bottom. I just can't see him going 32nd to playoff spot. I think, we're going to see them bottom five. They might get as high as like 25th, but outside of that, I think this is where they should be as well. Like, you don't want to rush a rebuild. You've still got some time. You got your piece in Bedard, build around it. Go to the draft a couple of times. The kid's not going to go running because you spent 2 seasons down the bottom. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
continue to build.
Well, in regards to forwards, I'm pretty sure he's like one of it, or not, if not the worst, plus minus, or at least one of. At -4. Corey Perry's having a good season for them, so that's a really good pickup, good veterancy pickup, and 5 points in 6 games. So honestly, the little veterancy pickups have been good, and I can see that experiencing working off on Bedard, but it's going to take a while for him. He's still got a good shot, but you can still see some flaws and where he's going to work. Maybe put on maybe a kilo or two, but yeah.
He's got to learn, and that was the Avs game. A lot of people said he's gonna learn a lot from that Avs game because the Avs just drilled down on him, and they made sure that he had no time, no space. He just wasn't given easy opportunities. He was made to work.
Yeah, I
So
I think he might need to take the Jack Hughes route, go to the wing. He's got the standard, first year face off skill level, where it's
yeah,
getting like 35%. So it's the same like Jack Hughes. He couldn't win a face off to save his life, and then he goes to the wing, let your actual face off kings take it, and that worked well for him. So I think honestly, he might need to do that for his career, and then spend a full off season working on his face off.
yeah, but no, look, decent start for Chicago. 2 wins already. You got to be happy with that. All right, let's move on to number 27. I've got a team. They're moving up one spot this week. Having a reasonable start, but I still don't see enough to move them up any further. It's Montreal Canadiens.
Montreal for me. Oh, I have them at 26.
They had a pretty good, pretty reasonable week, and they haven't had a terrible start to the year. I mean, they lose to Minnesota to start, and then get the OT win against Washington. So nothing spectacular, but they still take 2 out of 4 points, which, yeah, as a Montreal fan, you're taking that pretty much every day of the week. Um, in terms of standings, they're still 2-1-1. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's early days. Like I don't think they're going to be a surprise packet by any means. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden do what we're sort of seeing from the Detroit or Ottawa or anything like that in the Atlantic. But yeah, some positives coming out of it. But obviously, the news about Kirby Dack is only going to hurt them because that's a big key player gone for the season. So disappointing, but again, I think it's just another learning season for Montreal. So good
Yeah,
start, but I don't see them going any higher than really this for the
yeah, it's
season.
kind of the same results you expected. I was a little bit worried, honestly, with the Washington game that that it went to OT and that Washington were putting up as much of a fight. So that's why they are where they are for me. I can't move them any higher than 26, and uh, yeah, hopefully that Washington game isn't signs of where the season will be. Hopefully they can compete a little bit harder because of how we've talked about Washington, how poor they have been. But yeah, we'll have to see if them they get any better. Losing players obviously doesn't make it any easier, but there's always players that step up through the AHL or whatnot that can surprise. So that's what you're looking for there for Montreal. Um, Alrighty, on to 25. My 25. This is a team I feel like could be higher, but I couldn't do it at the moment. It is the St. Louis Blues.
Wow, yeah, that's no, I feel you on that one. I sat there and went, they've had a pretty decent start to the season. Like, how are they 25th? You know,
Mm,
they're 2-1-1 and they're 25th. I mean, same with Montreal, right? They're 2-1-1 and 27th and 26th or whatever it is. But yeah, I couldn't put them above anyone. I haven't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a strange one.
yeah, it is one of those things, and like I feel the reason why I couldn't move them up any further is I wasn't 100% convinced with the Penguins win, even though like it did look like they were going to score, like they were looking prominent scoring wise, but like the way they were moving the puck, but they only had the 21 shots. I feel like it's slightly fortunate. Probably getting Penguins at a good time on a little slump, and that's why I couldn't edge them up any higher. They did get kind of trounced by Arizona as well, which is a team that I feel like this team should be competing against, probably going to OT with, and they just didn't. So yeah, I feel like they're playing better than last year, but I just couldn't move them higher. I have to wait for more games, honestly, because I wasn't convinced by their win.
I think it's one of the toughest parts about doing power rankings this early in the season. You know, it's easy to start to talk about teams when they've played 20, 30, 40 games because you've seen a lot. You've seen what they've done throughout the year, and then you're seeing what their, current form is. But we're talking 4 games into the season. They beat the Pens, even though, severely outshot. But they get that win, but then they get trounced by Arizona. So it's like,
Mm.
what do you make of that? If you play another 10 games, are they going to play more like they did against Arizona or more like they did against the Pens? Because which way they go completely determines where they're going to be on this rankings board. So yeah, look, if they can play, if they can get a few more wins under their belt and continue to improve, I dare say they'll move up this board pretty quickly. But right now, this is pretty much where I see them.
Yeah. My concerns with them is they have the worst special teams in the league. No goals on the power play. They have the worst penalty kill at the moment at what was it, 63%. And then they have one of the worst face-off percentages of 45%. So, but mainly on that special teams note, that's my concern with them. And their shots per game, they're getting average about 24, which is really low, and their saves average is 35. So they're conceding a lot more than they're shooting, and they're not going and can uh, what is the word? Scoring, I would just say, on the power play. So that is my concern. That is why I had them solidified here.
Yeah, that's fair. I think completely.
Yep,
And yeah, look, we just have to wait and see because, as we said, it's really early in the season. Um, yeah, but at the moment, this is where they are. So we'll move on to
24.
24, which is my pick now. Um, yeah, these guys had an improved week, but considering how bad their start to the season was, I had to keep them where they were. Buffalo Sabres. I'm hoping for
Alrighty.
Sabres fans that this is an improvement and this is what you're going to see, but after that first week, it was a little bit worrying.
Yeah, I've got them at 23. So only moving up the one position, but like they had that really slow start, so it's obviously going to be a little climb before they can get back into it. But they
Oh,
had a good
yeah,
week.
they did, and that's sometimes all it takes, right?
Yeah, it's really like they first teams that are probably not in the top 16. In Tampa, Calgary, Islanders. They're close, like they're middle pack teams at the moment, not at the top, not at the bottom. They go to OT with Tampa, lose by a goal against Calgary, and then they beat New York Islanders 3-1. pretty comfortably in a sense. Obviously, pretty desperate team as well, though, because of how they started the season, what's expected of them, and they were probably always going to win the Islanders game because of that. But yeah, it's, like they had a good week. It's just they got to start stringing it together now because of how strong that East is getting. Um, I don't feel like you can slack off for too long until you miss your chance in the wild card spot. So yeah,
$100%.
they got to start moving.
Yeah, 100% in that Atlantic, like it's dangerous. You're looking at Boston who have started undefeated, Detroit doing what they're doing, Ottawa looks good. Toronto are going to just continue to do what they do. So you've already got four teams just there, and that's not mentioning Florida or who's the other one? Florida or Tampa. So it's a tough division, and if they don't get moving soon, they'll be in trouble. But they definitely need to get their power play going as well. With the firepower they've got on that side, they shouldn't be a team running at what 6.3% on the power play. Like that's just that's atrocious. Their penalty kill's fantastic, 94.7, pretty much one of the best in the league, but yeah, that power play it's got to get going. You can't have that type of firepower and be putting up 6.3 power
Yeah,
play
and
percentage.
this is probably one of the lowest scoring teams as well. Like they're not conceding much, but they're not scoring much. Like they're winning by a goal, 1-0 or something like that. In regards to what I was looking at is the Islanders, but we are talking about the Buffalo. But I was looking at just Islanders and how they beat them 3-1, and that is probably why they got the 3-1 win against the Islanders. Is just Islanders can't score, but that is a team that I think they're competing with in the wildcard spot for is the Islanders, and that's a huge 2 points. Like that's a 4 point game, honestly, if you're going for that wild card. So that was big,
Yeah,
and I think they're starting to turn the gears. Buffalo, Tage on the board and whatnot. I think it's looking good. I just hope they're not going to have a roller coaster season. They're going to string along.
yeah, that you definitely, and someone like Tage Thompson, they really need him to get going because 47 goals last year, 38 the year before. He's really that player who's going to get that scoring underway. As soon as he starts firing, I think the team's going to flow with him. So, yeah, hopefully Tate. We saw it last year. I think Tate started off absolutely atrociously after that $7 million contract, which is a great contract. But it was like, oh, did they pull that too early? Because he didn't look good, and then out of nowhere he just went hat trick, hat
Yeah,
trick, hat trick. And it was just like, oh, okay, cool. He's up to 15 goals in no time at all. So, yeah, look, I think it's just going to take him a little while, but they do need to get going because, yeah, as we said, that Atlantic's going to be extremely tough. And it's going to come down to who wants it the most. All
alrighty.
right.
Moving on to 24. I have at 24 Minnesota Wild.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Do you know
Yes.
what? Do you know what? That's probably, I rate that call. I have them at 20, but I do rate that call because I was looking at them at 20 and going, I don't feel like that's where they've been. I feel like they've been quite disappointing so
Yeah,
far.
I've been very disappointed with them. I've had high hopes for them this season. They beat Montreal 5-2, lose pretty big to LA 7-3, and then they go and OT lose to Columbus. Honestly, lucky to get a point out of that game. So I've been a little bit disappointed in their play, and it's like, what do you say? I think Andre Fleury's been a bit below par already. But both goalies, like Andre Fleury is like 3.5 goals against average, and Gustafsson, even though he has a better save percentage above 900, he has a 3.93 goals against. Like they're just conceding way too much, and yeah, they just got to get it going. Like their power play's fine, penalty kill's fine, face off percentage probably needs some work, but they're just conceding too many goals. Like what was it, 5 games, 21 goals against, and what's that average of 4? So you need that 3 or below. So they got a bit big work to go on the defense and goaltending side of things.
Yeah, I mean, when you concede, when you give up 50, what was it, 52 shots against the Columbus Blue Jackets, like, or 54 shots, like that's what do you expect your goaltenders to do? Like
Yeah.
they're gonna concede. You concede 54 shots, your goaltender's gonna concede. More often than not. It's not too often you see 50 shot shutouts. So yeah, they've got to tighten up defensively, which is crazy to say because that's supposed to be Minnesota's crux almost. Like their offense is questionable, but their defense was where they
Mm.
kept themselves in a playoff spot last year. So, yeah, definitely interesting. Big call by you, 24, but yeah, not a call that I think is incorrect at all. I think yeah, it's a good call.
Alrighty.
Um, all right, moving on to my 23. I have got me a little rattled here. Calgary Flames.
Calgary Flames. I have them at 21.
Up. Yeah, I feel like there's a bit here where they're all just a bit disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah, well, like to what you expect, like they could be. Yeah, I think it's probably pinnacled by that Washington shootout loss. Like it's a game like it's a must-win game. Like you have to win that, especially for a team that's probably going to be sitting somewhere around the wild card spot, fighting for it again. But yeah, I just think giving that up, I just had to move them down. I couldn't move them down a little bit further, but it's they do get the win over Buffalo. Then on a back-to-back, they verse a good team in Columbus. The thing with them is they outshoot in all three games, even though they only win one. They outshoot all three opponents. So the shooting's there, but like where's the defense? Where's the goaltending? I've seen a little bit of subpar from Vladar, I think it was, and whatnot. And I think they just got to step up with the goaltending, the defense in front of it. And Huberto's got to get on a better mark for what he's doing. I think he's a -6 already. And yeah, there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done and that could be done, but at the moment, it's looking really rough.
Yeah, I mean it is because this was one of the teams we had pegged for a good bounce back, and it's just not happening. Yeah, I mean like we said, it's early days. It's hard to call this early, but there's some worrying signs early for sure. Uh, and yeah, look, Hudo's got to get started, man. Like he was the thing that kept Calgary like happy when
Mm,
they got rid of Kachuk. It was we got Huberto back in the deal. We got Huberto and Uyghur, and then everyone was like, oh, but it's only for the year. Then they signed them for 8 years apiece, and it was like, oh, this is crazy. And then Huberto put up what he did last season, and he's off to a pretty slow one. I know he's 4 points, 2 goals, in 6 games, so not terrible, but he's, he's better than that. And I think I don't think he's 100 plus point, 100 yeah 100 plus point player a year, but he's definitely a point a game player, and he's much better in terms of accountability defensively as well. So being a -6 this early in the season, he's got to tighten up. He's a big key piece to that Flames team, and he's got to get himself going.
yeah, well, that's just it. Like, there's a few players on that team that do need to get going, like Dubé and whatnot. But obviously, with the contract he has, Huberto is the big talking point. I think Vladar's really got to step it up though. He looked really ordinary out there. 0.842 save percentage in the 2 games. It That's just not good enough. Like in two games he's conceded 9 goals. To put in perspective, Markstrom's played 4 and he's conceded 11. So it like Vladar's just been ordinary. I don't know if they're the type of team that maybe goes out and gets like a Blackwood from San Jose or something, and gets rid of Vladar. I don't know, but yeah, Vladar's really got to step it up. Otherwise, they're going to have to ride Markstrom for probably maybe 65 something games this season.
Yeah, well, you want to hope that Markstrom can get back to his old ways, but at the same time, it's not just on him. His defense has to step up as well, and then yeah, you've got the same thing of when he's not playing, that backup goaltender needs to be there. So hopefully they can tighten it all up and get their season going because I I think it's wide open for them in the Pacific to take. Like, um, it's not the strongest division. I think
It's
it
it's
has
it's very
teams.
much the weakest, besides Vegas,
Yeah,
and maybe
it
Vancouver, who's had a good start. Yeah.
but they're all around that mark, right? Like when you think about the teams, you've got the Kings, Kraken, Flames, Vancouver, probably missing one, but yeah, Edmonton. They're all around that mark of Edmonton's probably at the top of the pack, not right now, but in terms of where they should be. But they're all around that mark, so those playoff spots are right for the taking. It's just up to whether they want to do it because they've got the
Mm.
team. So yeah, it's definitely on them.
Alrighty. Is it? It's your pick, isn't it? No, it's
That's
my pick.
yours.
My
Yeah.
pick at 22. I have yeah, it's a big move here. This one. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, yeah, you went hard, man.
Negative 13. I went hard. Yes.
Yeah, they're 19 for me. I was a little kinder than you.
I'm savage. I'm brutal.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
They did this last year. They
yeah,
did
that
the exact same
went
thing.
top to bottom, and then
Yep.
finished somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
um, yeah, so they don't win a game. They take it to Detroit, though they lose 6-3, and they get beat by St. Louis 4-2, though they probably should at least gotten a point out of that game, but they don't. There's some worrying concerns for me at the moment. Like Jari is below 900. Uh, Nedeljkovic has only played one game. He's a 944, so he had a really good game. Um, but yeah, you're going to be relying on Jari for probably 60 games, maybe something like that this season. And he's below 900. It's a little bit worrying. And honestly, like a lot of the stats and whatnot, and the way they're playing, it doesn't look bad, but they're not getting results. And for a team that honestly should be getting that like maybe fourth in the Metro, getting that wild card, they're not playing like it, and they're looking like a team that's probably would lose out to like the Islanders or something for like that for the wild card. So a little bit worrying. Not panic stations yet, but it almost could be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we've said many times already, it's early in the season. You can't panic too much, but yeah, it's definitely if you're looking at those two games, Detroit are just a different beast this year. So far, watching their games, they're so quick. So that's not too bad, but they shouldn't be losing to St. Louis.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see how they keep going. It's crazy the amount of minutes that Eric Carlson's seeing. I mean, he's averaging like 25 minutes a night,
hmm
um, which is just yeah, like that's a lot of minutes for. I know defensemen play big minutes and
Yeah,
some
well,
big
Letang's
defensemen
doing
do play a lot.
24. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, but it just shows you that if you've got two players averaging 25 and 20 or 24 and 25 minutes, well, what's that saying for your third line, or even your second line? Can you
Well,
just not
well,
trust
they
them?
got two D lines. Like the Pedersen Graves line's doing really good as well. But it's just that third D pairing is the issue that they're dealing with Joseph and Ridwell. Only getting like 10 minutes, 11 minutes a game. Uh, I think the biggest talking point for this team at the moment is how good Malkin's playing. Like he's shooting, like the way he's positioning without the puck in the offensive zone. Like he just looks really good. His shot looks really good. 8 points in 5 games. He has 4 goals. Like just he looks really really good. It looks like a young Malkin for some reason.
He's just got to keep it up, right?
Mm.
But
Yeah, it's just
Look,
stay, not get injured like he always does. But yeah.
yeah, they've got the firepower. They've got the players there to do it. I expect them to, I expect them to be a lot better than where they are currently. So we'll just have to wait and see. All
Alrighty.
right. My number 22 is the Winnipeg Jets, who have dropped off a fair bit for me.
All right. My number 20. Yeah,
Mm,
-7 for me.
-9 for me. There's some big moves this week, but yeah, Winnipeg just, yeah, they just didn't do it for me. I watched them against I think watched them against the Kings, and it was they were questionable. Um, I just worry about their defense. I worry about them in general. I'm not sure. I know they picked up like they signed Hellebuck and they signed Shifley, but I just don't know if it's the right call.
Yeah.
I've heard from a few Winnipeg fans that they were sort of potentially hoping that they'd go in a different direction and maybe sort of trial or rebuild of some sort, try and see what they can
Yeah.
get for
Well, when the
Hellebuck
same
and that.
recipe doesn't work, you want to change the recipe, right? But they
Yeah,
they, they kept some of those ingredients. Like Shifley's had 4 goals in 5 games, 6 points. But he is a -3. But he's looked good offensively. Um, I guess my big concern is like both their goaltenders. Like Hellebuck's like been under the pump. He's only at .878 save percentage. Like those aren't Hellebuck numbers. And Brossoit played the 1 game, and even worse than that. So they're getting pumped, and that always comes down to, like, I think we've always talked about with Winnipeg, is their defense and their forward back checking um, system. But yeah, like I think their goaltenders are getting just pumped too much. Like, and Hellebuck, he gets his payday and then he's not getting Hellebuck numbers. So
yeah.
that is the concern.
Like they've only conceded less than 4 goals once in their first 5 games.
Mm,
Like they conceded 5 against Calgary, 4 against Florida, 5 against LA, 5 against Vegas. It's not a winning recipe if you're conceding 5 goals every game. Like
yeah,
they
I,
beat
I agree.
Florida,
I just think they
but
had a hard week. Like they versed LA, Vegas, and then Edmonton, and obviously getting the
oh
win over Edmonton. Um, but yeah, the LA, Vegas, I don't think you're probably expecting Winnipeg to get those ones.
yeah, but if you the Vegas one I can get, but if you're expecting to be a wild card team, I'm expecting you to put up a better performance against the Kings.
Mm.
Just straight out. Like I think the Kings had been ordinary to start. Um,
Well, it's like last season. Those two teams versing each other, I think they bring out the worst in each other, and they play their worst games against each other. I don't think I've watched a Kings Jets game where I'm like, oh, this is really good hockey,
yeah,
like from either team. So like, maybe it's just they bring the worst out in each other for some reason.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, we'll just have to see what's in store for Winnipeg because yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. I feel.
Alrighty, on to 19. Team moving down just a little bit. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's
I was
this.
wondering if you would have a different team there because I'm like, if that's not your 19, that's my 21. So you're a bit higher on them, or
Well, I'm not really higher on them. This is kind of like the ballpark 19 or so where I expect them to be this season. So it kind of matches where I've been seeing them. Like, they got pretty much trounced by Ottawa. They go to OT against Buffalo. They get the win against Vancouver, and then they go to OT and lose against Toronto. So they only win the 1 game, but they get 4 out of 8. It's just like it's hard to push them any further down purely because of how good, like, their stars are playing. But they obviously got some goaltending woes, conceding too many goals, and I can definitely see them being at 21 where you've got them easily. I feel like this 24 to probably like even 17s or interchangeable almost. But yeah, there's definitely big concerns. I don't think it gets better, and Vasilevsky's still a way out.
Yeah, and that's obviously the big concern. I think is the Vasilevsky news. If he was back, you might have a different sort of viewpoint on Tampa, but whilst they're sort of missing him and they're having to sort of go with two probably backups to backups, in my opinion, it's worrying.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they
because
only have two players in positive plus minus, and they're depth pieces like Fleury and Isermont, and they only play like 10, 11 minutes a game. So
yeah,
like that is worrying when like Kucherov, who scores like he has 9 points in 6 games and he's a -3.
yeah, yeah. So he's conceding as much just as much as he's scoring basically, and yeah, that is a worry. But what they've got one of the most deadliest power plays in the league at the moment with 35%. But if you're conceding, I think what's
No,
it,
it's
their
four,
shots
four
against
goals a game basically. Oh
four
yeah.
goals a game, and their shots against are 37. Like,
Mm,
you can have a good power play, you can have good firepower, but if you're letting two backup goaltenders see 37 shots, you're probably going to be fighting an uphill battle because your opposition's probably going to score minimum 3 goals if they're
mm.
putting up those sort of shot numbers. So yeah, interesting to see what the Tampa Bay Lightning come back with because they're still an incredible unit, but I feel like this could be the season that they miss playoffs. I think we both had them missing
Yeah,
playoffs this
I
year in our
definitely did. Yeah.
predictions. So um, yeah, with the way that the Atlantic is, yeah, not sure that they're going to be able to do it this year. I reckon this is the year they fall out.
Alrighty.
But
You're 18.
my 18, all right. So we are back on level peggings. Let's see if we can keep it there. I have much improved Columbus Blue Jackets.
Ah, and you've done messed it up.
Oh,
I
I
have.
thought you would go a little bit higher.
I've got Florida Panthers at 18, so I have Columbus at 17.
Oh, spoiler alert as
Yeah, I
well,
had to
just on
spoil
the
it. I had to spoil it.
Panthers. But no, look, yeah, I think, yeah, Florida, and to be honest, I think Florida's my 17, but um, pretty much interchangeable. I think Columbus have
Yeah, it's fairly close.
been a real, not even a surprise packet. Like I said before the season start that they're one of my sleepers to potentially make a playoff spot. In the predictions, I think I had them fifth in the Metro and just missing a playoff spot. Um, but they've got the firepower there. They've got some really good young talent. Obviously, the inclusion of Fantilli is just huge. Um, and getting Wierenski back, although he's injured again, um, is going to be, phenomenal for them. And, the loss at the start of the year to Philly was concerning. But given what Philly's done since, you're like, oh, okay, kind of makes
Mm.
sense. And then they go and get wins against, Rangers and Calgary and Minnesota this week. So the 4-0 loss against Detroit, but again, Detroit doing what Detroit's doing. So I haven't really seen any major negatives other than getting, trounced by Detroit. But again, Detroit are a different beast right now. So yeah, some real positive signs from them. They've beaten some pretty decent teams. New York Rangers are going to be right up there again this year. Calgary and Wild, although are a little bit down at the moment, they're still relatively quality sides. So yeah, I don't know. Next week they've got the Ducks, Canadians, and the Islanders. So if they could pull, 5 out of 6 points from there, they're really going to kickstart their season.
Mm.
And yeah, they're definitely not going to be 32nd. That's
Yep.
all I'm gonna say.
No, like you said, they haven't really look flawed. Like Wierenski's looked really good coming back. Boone Jenner's having a great season, and like both their goaltending is through the roof. As Leakin's a 920 and Martin's a 915 save percentage. So extremely good from two goaltenders that could have gone either way. and I'm really happy for Meslikins on that rebound, and honestly happy for Martin as well. So hopefully they can keep that up. They're showing how good goaltenders they can be when they have some sort of defense in front of them. But yeah, they're playing 200-foot game. Really, really impressed.
I think a few Columbus fans were a little bit scared when Werenski went down in the first game, but he is back and he's performing quite well in the last couple of games. So
Yeah, it was what, three
um,
games, 3 points. So
yeah. So it's good. But I look when I saw him go down, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh no, that's not again. If you're a Columbus fan, not again. Um, but no, it's good to see him back out there, and I hope that he can stay off that injured list because he is a big key piece to this Columbus team, and probably a major piece in their potential wild cards. Still. So
mm.
yeah,
No, I
let's
agree.
see what happens, eh?
All right. Spoilers alert: Florida at 18.
Yep, and as I said, I thought I'll just check because I was like, maybe they're not my 17, but they are. They're definitely my 17. So just a bit of a switcheroo there.
Yeah, like you said, they're pretty interchangeable. Yeah, having a decent start like to the season. They beat Toronto, obviously. Then they go and lose to Vancouver, and starting out the week with the win over New Jersey. So pretty difficult schedule, honestly. And they come out with 4 out of 6. You're always going to take that. So they move up 5 for me. Pretty big move. 6 for you. I just can't see them in my top 16 at the moment. I still think they've got just a couple holes in their game. And Bobrovsky's played all 5 games, sitting at just at 899 save percentage. I'll be interested to see how their backup plays when they do play. Reinhardt's having a great season so far. 8 points in 5 games, and that's probably my biggest thing is that he's looked really good and really sharp. But honestly, besides Kachuk not having a goal, that's probably the room for improvement for this team. It's
Yeah.
that,
Well,
that that's just it, right?
look, I think they need to get past this first part of the season because what they don't get Ekblad or Montour back until I think they're still at least another month or two away. So they've got to get through a fair chunk of games. So you're talking at least a good 20 to 30 games without two of their key defenders, which is probably a big pain point from them. We saw Jacqueline Hyde against the Devils, obviously 4-0 up, and then all of a sudden it's 4-3 in the third, and they're scrounging for a win. Um, so yeah, I just feel like if they don't even have to be good. We saw it last season, perfect example. They just have to scrape into the playoffs, and they could almost steal a cup. Um, but I feel like if they can be somewhat near 500 at the return of Ekblad and Montour, I think that's when their season's going to click. So
Mm,
they just need to sort of steady the ship and keep themselves afloat, um, which so far they're doing. They've pulled a couple of good wins together. And then that's really all they've got to keep doing because when you're missing two of your key defenders, that's a huge thing to come back from. So yeah, as long as they can keep themselves afloat, I feel like Florida will be geared up, to make the playoffs again.
mm. No, I agree. And it looks like we both had the same bottom 16 and the same top 16. So I guess you can start off with your start of the top 16. We'll see what order we have them in.
Let's see how this top 16 goes, hey? Oh, look, there's some really questionable teams in this top 16. This season has been insane to start. The first couple of weeks are just always crazy. But yeah, to start our top 16 off, moving up quite significantly, well, no, only 4 spots, but the LA Kings.
All right. It's the same for me. 16 LA Kings. Only 3 positions for me.
A
Eh,
much better week. A
Oh,
much better week from them.
yeah. Once you get wins on the board, yeah.
Well, exactly right. Because they were winless, weren't they? Yeah, they lost their first 2 games, although it was pretty difficult against the Avs and Canes. But going into the first week with no wins, but then bouncing back with a big win against the Jets, another big win against the Wild, and a tight loss to the Bruins, who are still undefeated. So
Hmm.
yeah, good bounce back week for them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern was Copley, and they haven't gone back to him since. So it's just been Talbot since, sitting at 900 save percentage. Uh, that's probably the thing. They're scoring a lot. They're conceding, somewhat decent. But I guess I'm pretty impressed with. Though he hasn't scored a goal, Fiala's had a good start of the season. He looks alright. 7 assists in 5 games. And the other thing I think of note is Kopitar hasn't really lost a step at all, even with his his aging and whatnot. He's still point a game, still looks like old Kopitar. So yeah, I think they've got room for improvement. Still concerns about their backup, and since they haven't gone back to him, how much does that work on his mentality? We'll have to see when or if he comes back and plays some more. But that's what's got to be answered for me. And also just Byfield, he's really slow, hasn't got any faster, and he's only got the one goal in 5 games, and it doesn't look like he's panning out so far.
He
And
was
also Lafreniere just scored his first goal as well. I just wanted to point
yeah,
that out.
yeah, yeah. Shout out to Laffy, yeah. Yeah, he looks to have a little bit about him, that kid.
It
So
was a really good
we'll
goal.
see what he does. Yeah, 100% it was. But yeah, it's Byfield worries me because there was big talk that this is his year. And there's still a lot to go, and I really am hopeful for the kid because I feel like he can, but again, his pace is just it's
Mm.
not what you want in this sort of the way the NHL's
Not from a
going. The
young kid.
NHL,
You want that from
no,
like a
no,
35-year-old or something.
be- because the thing is about with those older players, they know how to position themselves. They know where to place themselves on the ice. They know how to reduce the amount of movement they need to do. So they know what to do, whereas he doesn't. So he doesn't have his positioning down pat, and he doesn't have the speed to make up for it. So it's like it's a double-edged sword where it's just yeah, I'm really starting to question how long they're going to keep with it before they try and ship him out and give him a fresh start elsewhere. But it's early in the season, obviously, so we'll see what happens. But it again, the goaltending and the defensive situation of the Kings is a big worry to me for me because 4.2 goals for is great, but 3.6 against so early in the season,
Mm.
yeah, it's where I see them coming undone.
Hopefully that for
So
them it's the lowest point of the year.
mhm,
Moving on to number 15, going back to the east, I have the Islanders.
a little bit higher for me, although I wasn't sure at all if that's where they should be, but they're 13 for me.
Oh, geez, it's a pretty substantially higher. They go down for me, they go up for you. Like they haven't looked bad. They've looked pretty good, but I have like they beat Arizona, only allowing 14 shots on them, uh,
Which was
win,
huge.
which is huge. Winning 1-0, though Arizona was on a back-to-back. They don't beat, but they go toe to toe, goal to goal against the Devils, then lose in OT. Just Jack Hughes things. Really that gets Devils over the line, and then Buffalo on a back-to-back, losing 3-1. Uh, Obviously, a very desperate Buffalo. I felt like Buffalo was always going to win that one, no matter what, just because how desperate they were, and it's on a back-to-back. So they're competing. My problem is just like the goals, and that's really it. It's like like they're not scoring enough for me.
Where does
Person.
their scoring come from, right?
Well,
Like
yeah.
that's the worry.
Well, that is it, isn't it? Like it's a very aging team. You can't really see anyone picking up. Like they've 4 games, 9 goals, and though they've only conceded 10, but some of that was come from that Devils game where it was 4-5. So
Yeah,
it's a lot of 1-0 sort of games that they're having, and that's shout out to their defense. Obviously they've got Sorokin, but I like yeah, and Varlamov are both having good seasons. It's just yeah, like it really is just that offense, and I feel like it's the easiest thing to fix. Go out and get a forward. I think there's plenty of them out there, but I don't know where you start.
Yeah, they don't have cap or assets to
Mm,
do it. And that's the thing. Like they brought in Horvat. He's not going to have the 40 goals he did for Vancouver because it's a completely different system. But that's the question, we raised in, I think, our Islanders video
yeah, the
before the
preseason
start of the
video.
season was do you need to change the Islanders structure? Like I get it, they're very good defensively, they've got a good goaltender, but is it your structure that's holding back the likes of Matt Barzell, Horvat, because Horvat can score 40 goals. So if he doesn't score 40 goals, is it your system that's causing that?
Mm,
Or like you've got to start asking some of those questions. And also like Barzell hasn't scored 20 goals since what, his first season or something. So what's the issue? Is it them as players, or is it just that they're not being allowed to show off their offensive prowess because they've got to play um a more defensive structure?
yeah.
And it's all well and good to say, yeah, defense comes first and you build from there. But when you can't build offense at all, um, it becomes a real worry. And that's my big concern for this team. Like 9.1 on the power play. They conceded 4 power play goals for the first time on home ice. Um, I mean, if you're conceding 4 power play goals in the game, that's pretty hectic
Mm.
anyway. But um, yeah, it's just there's some concerns. I'm still not sold. I can't see they're in the top 16 right now, but I'm not sure they stay there.
Well, that's the
Because
thing.
I don't see them
That's the
taking
thing you mentioned
playoffs.
though, is like they've only got scored one power play goal with Matt Barzell, but with the firepower that like line should have with Barzell, Palmieri, Horvat, um, and whatnot, like that should be scoring at probably around like 18-20% at least, and like they're just not, and I really do think it's the system that's holding Barzell back and the others. And I think I don't know if they will change it. Like Brock Nelson, though he's really really good, I don't think he should be your goal scoring leader over someone like a Barzell or a Horvat. And yeah, I just think it has to change the system. But they're going to frustrate teams because how good they are defensively, and then you got the goaltenders to back it up.
Yeah, 100%. Like they're always going to be in it, but I just don't feel like this team's gonna do anything. I feel like they're gonna waste several years being in no man's land, especially after the Horvat trade. And that's my biggest concern. Like the defense just isn't going to hold them well enough to make playoffs and win
Mm,
playoffs. So yeah, but we'll see what happens. All right.
all right, you're 15.
My 15. I have a team that I'm loving seeing in the top 16. You had them there last week, and I've now moved them there. The Arizona Coyotes. How good is it
Oh, so
seeing
we've
the
just flipped
Coyotes
them. I've
playing?
got them at 13.
Look, I could have had them at 13. Like I'm actually really enjoying the Coyotes playing. Like their style is good. They're quicker. It's not just effort this season. They like last season was just pure effort. They didn't have the skill other than probably a Keller. Um, but it was effort. And this year it's different. They've got the effort and they've got the skill and they've got some speed coming through. So, yeah, really exciting team to watch. And, they have the back-to-back losses against the Rangers and Islanders, but only 1 goal losses. And other than only putting up 14 shots against the Islanders, some reasonably good signs. And then good wins against the St. Louis Blues, and then a good 2-1 tight win against the Ducks. So, you know, you've got to like what you're seeing from them. The young kids that they've got coming up. Clayton Keller just keeps being Clayton Keller. He's one that they've got to try and keep. I
Mm.
feel like they can't let him go because I feel like if he goes, that's just gonna destroy what they've built or what they're
Yeah, I
starting to
think
build.
Nick Schmaltz as well. I think he's probably underrated in the league. You never really hear that guy's name get talked about, but he's looked really really good. I've always liked his game. So, and he's a same as Keller, 6 points in the season. I think it's just like their goaltending. Like you look at those stats and it's ridiculous. They've only allowed 9 goals and .951 save percentage for Melka. Somehow that's not even number one in the league, but that's extremely high. And I've always liked for Melka. I'm glad that Arizona's kept him. And then Ingram, .926 save percentage. Probably one of the league's best goalie tandem at the moment, just stats wise. I guess the only concern for me is just how many goals they're scoring. It's only 2.4 a game. They're keeping opponents below two a game, and just the PK. They got a good power play. It's just the PK that probably needs to pick up just a little bit. Other than that, I'm just gonna keep riding the wave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're an Arizona fan, you got to enjoy. It might not stay like this, but hey, you've got a good young and up and coming team. So now you just need to get a stadium sorted,
Mm,
and uh, and then who knows? Sky's the limit once you've done that.
alrighty. On to my 14. I have the Nashville Predators.
Hey, look, there we go. One of them at the same, hey?
Oh, well,
Nice.
we had to do it at some point. It is early season, but I'm just really high on this team. They had a really good week, and look, a pretty hard team in I guess you could say hard team in Oilers who thrash them, and then they go and beat the Rangers, and then they get it done against San Jose pretty comfortably, which I guess you're expected to, but they win 5-1, which is good for a team that my biggest concern was goal scoring, and they score what 10 goals in 3 games. It's really good, and I don't know what to say about them. I think they're
Uh,
overperforming for what that roster is. Comes down to great goaltending and Saros. Obviously, you're always going to have that, and then just structure from the coach.
Yeah, yeah, and look, one thing I'll shout out about it as well is, they had a pretty tough start to the season. You're coming up against Tampa, Seattle, Boston, Oilers, and Rangers. And when you look at that, that's five playoff teams from last season. And like, yep, three of them went out in the first round, but the other two went to the second, at least. So, um, you're a team that's not expected to make playoffs, and you start the season against five ex-playoff teams. I just question the fixture sometimes, man, because I look at Nashville and I go, how does a team like Nashville start a season off like that, and then a team like Vegas who wins the cup starts off playing San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago, and they play Chicago again, and this is Philly before we seeing what they're doing now, but and Philly as well in that. How do you like? How is your first month, and then Montreal? How's your first month have six of probably 6 games with five of the teams that are expected to probably be in the bottom five?
Yeah, yeah, no, I
Like
I agree. I agree.
it's
It, it
yeah.
it is a bit messed up and it hurts, rivalries. Vegas should be versing probably teams they've faced in the playoffs. It helps with that rivalry early on in the season. I feel like that should be a staple.
Mm.
We saw with the Seattle versus Avs, the punch up that happened purely because of the hit that was done on the player that basically broke his neck. Um, and so, like, without further ado, a minute or so into the game, there's a fight, and that's how rivalries start. So you're not going to get rivalries against bottom feeder teams. That's really
No,
just how it's going to be.
and and like I get it. Vegas obviously had a delayed start to their postseason and all the rest of that because they or preseason because they won the cup and all the rest of that, but they won the cup. Their fixture should be technically harder than the Nashville's. Like
Mm,
I feel like I really do have to question the fixturing there because I'm like, why is Vegas getting 6 games in their first month of their first 10 games against bottom feeder teams? It's almost like oh yeah, we know you just won the cup, but here's an ease into your season. Not to say that they're not playing fantastic hockey, they are, and we'll get to them. But yeah, just definitely when I look at Nashville and see their start compared to a Vegas, I have to question it because I'm like, that's brutal to Nashville. And it's also why I've got them so high because I'm like, for them to have come out at 500 with that start
Mm.
is a really good effort from them.
And what I expected, it's a full team effort. There's only one player on the roster out of 21 that has played that has a negative plus minus in Tomasino, and that's only a negative one. Everyone else is 0 or positive. So as I thought, it's full roster commitment to the system, and looks like they're performing it off. But I guess we will move on to number 12.
12, yeah. So just dying off a little bit after their fantastic start, I've got the Vancouver Canucks.
Yes, I do too.
Oh,
At
look at
12.
that, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, what do you make of it? They had a pretty good start to the season, and then this week they just sort of have a bit of a back to reality, I think, um, of a situation. But still good signs.
Yeah, well, it was, they got pretty handled by Philadelphia. They lose 0-2. Um, yeah, I feel like they just got handled in that game. They lose by a goal against Tampa. Once again, like, Tampa's a really strong team, but I feel like if Vancouver are going to have a strong season, they're going to you know, capitalize on those teams that have big injuries. And then they win 5-3 over Florida. So, um, what, two out of six? Probably should have 4 out of 6, maybe even 5 out of 6, honestly, considering where. So that's why they dropped for me just a bit, especially that Philly game where I feel like they got handled a bit. And look, they've had a great start of the season. No one expected them here, so you're going to ride that wave. And like Pedersen's got 10 points in 5 games. He's on trace for 164 points. So Miller's been good. Beza obviously had that 4K in goals. So yeah, I don't know where to point at the moment, and where things are going right. I'm just riding the wave with them. Goaltending's been good. DeSmith and Demko both great save percentages, and I need to see it consistent. I I feel like this is what this team does. They go on like big streaks. Normally it's at the end of the season, and I'm just worried that they're going to do it at the start of the season, do roles reverse, and have a slump.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do. Hopefully they can keep it up because I don't know. I'm torn because I kind of want Vancouver to sort of not go down that rebuild model, but I feel like it's not a season that you want them to do well. You still want them to finish lowish, get a decent draft pick, try and get someone else in. But at the same time, given that they're probably not going for a rebuild with the players they've got, you probably do want to see them do well so that they can at least attract some decent free agency targets.
Well, and
But
they're also got to maintain their people, right? Like this is
mm,
Patterson's last year. If you have another really bad year, you could easily see him walk. And the season he's having now, he's having a new contract era year, so he's probably looking at a big payday, which is going to hurt their cap situation even more. So that is, it's the good and the bad, the double-edged sword, I guess, from a good season so far from Pedersen, but then you're also looking, oh, we've got to pay him. So yeah, it could bite them in the butt, especially if the season doesn't turn out the way it does in the end, that they're looking forward for. All right,
all right, on to your 11.
number 11, I have the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, that's interesting. They're a bit higher for me. I've got them at 8.
Oh, someone's really high on them.
Yeah, look, I've been high on the Ottawa Senators for a while since pretty much last season. Um, they disappointed me a bit last season, but yeah, look, I'm quite high on them. I feel like they're gonna have a good season. I've had
Mm.
them. You were high on them too. You had them 2 in the Atlantic. You
Yeah,
had them
I
higher
have
than
them
I
higher
did.
than you. Like I expect really good things from them this season.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've really been high on them pretty much since preseason, since the end of last
Mm.
season, really. And look, things are doing really well. All the additions like Tarasenko and whatnot are working out. Stuttler's been good. Norris has uh, been great. It's good to see him back. And I guess my big concern with them is Corpusalo hasn't been the best so far. .865 save percentages, averaging 4 goals a game. He's played 3 games. Forsberg's doing really good though. Only conceded the 3 on 42 saves in 2 games. But yeah, I would just like. I feel like Korpisalo's your man, and I would just like to see him step it up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's probably a big area that they definitely need is goaltending. Um, Tim Forsberg, like his first 2 games been pretty good, but Korpisalo was brought in to be that man. So he's definitely got to turn it up because they need they need a goaltender to step up. That's the thing. They can't have.
Mm.
It's what cost them a lot last season. Real poor goaltending, and you don't want to see a team like Ottawa miss out on a playoff spot because they've just got absolute dog shit goaltending.
Mm.
So yeah, let's see what they can do. But I'm hoping that Corpusalo can turn it on.
Yeah, I'm the same. Well, I guess you're number 11, so just outside your top 10.
My number 11 is the much improved, but I'm expecting the same thing to happen as what happened last year, the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, so they're my number 10. It feels weird putting him
Yeah.
anywhere near this spot, but
I
they've been
I was
playing
like
good.
it's I was like it's not gonna happen and they're not gonna be in the top 16. And then they just kept going up and up and up and I was like, huh, how'd they get to 11? Um, but they're playing good hockey, man. Like I watched the Edmonton game and um they deserve that. Like they 100% deserve that win. Their structure was a lot better than Edmonton's. They obviously with Edmonton's firepower, Edmonton still had their opportunities, but I just felt like they managed the game so well. Whenever McDavid and Draisaitl were on the ice, they had them covered. Um, and yeah, for what this team is, I know they had big injuries last year without Couturier for the last um 2 years, and Atkinson was out last season. So they're 2 big inclusions. But yeah, I mean, do those 2 players make Philadelphia a playoff team?
Well, I've always thought that Couturier is the heart and soul of the team, and it's kind of proving point here. I think Konechny is having an unsung season as well, kind of underrated. He scored 2 shorthanded goals against Dallas. Big reason why they get a point. They probably should have got 2 that game. So he's got 5 goals in 5 games. So he's having a great season, but I think it really does come down to Couturier. It's just having him in the locker room in itself probably means a lot. Carter Hart's been pretty decent. Urson's played only the 1 game and conceded 5, which was a bit worrying. But I guess you'd expect that for Philly. But I guess they're just gonna have to keep riding Carter Hart until maybe he breaks. And I guess the big thing that they're going to fix though is their power play. Is I think it's only scored once, 5.6%. So that's what I'm looking forward to is seeing if they can improve that power play. Then they're probably going to get at least a few more wins under the belt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've just got to get that to click, and I guess the big thing with the power play is Atkinson, one of your bigger goal scorers, and Couturier, who's argued, like you said, the heart and soul. They're both just coming back into the lineup, so it's going to take some time to get that groove back in a special teams unit. So, yeah, although that percentage is quite low so far and it hasn't clicked just yet, once they sort of play a few games and start to get that chemistry back, I expect you'll start to see a few more goals fly in from them. But it's going to be quite scary in the East if Philly keep this up because it's just the East does not need another playoff bound
Nah,
team.
nah, not while the West has got teams like Seattle and Oilers and whatnot dropping off. So it just makes the 2 conferences a little bit too much more lopsided. But I guess without further ado, I will move on to number 9. I have team dropping down a bit. It is the Carolina Hurricanes.
Like that.
Looking very ordinary.
Very ordinary. Not, and the worst part about it is it's not the fact that they're putting up 50 shots and scoring 2 goals. It's the fact that they're conceding. The best defensive team in the league is conceding a shit ton.
Yeah,
Like,
that's basically it, isn't it? Like Nietzsche's a -6. Jarvis, who's 7.6 games, a -3. Like they've got absolutely horrendous goaltending. They've got no one. Like the highest save percentage is Anderson with 8.55 save percentage. Like they've run 3 goaltenders, Krichekov and Ranta, all having abysmal starts to the season. Penalty kills been pretty bad so far. The one true crux was that like staple was their defense, which allowed good goaltending, and that's just not there. So without that, and then they had goal scoring issues, and now somewhat of a weak roster in goalies getting exposed. It's slightly falling apart.
yeah, yeah, look, you're not wrong. It's the one thing that we all said was wrong with Carolina was that they can't score. They need goal scorers. Their defense is the best defense in the league, basically, but they can't score. Well, they're scoring goals. They're 4.5 goals a game, but
Mm.
they're conceding 5. Like, this is arguably one of the best defensive units in the game that has added Dmitry Orlov to that sort of core,
Oh,
and
well,
they've gone
he's a
backwards.
-10. I'm just saying the guy
Yeah,
they've added is the worst plus minus in the team.
like what the hell? You and I questioned that contract when they signed him, but 7.75 mil for a -10. Don't get me wrong, I get it. He's paired up with D'Angelo, who is just a defensive liability at
Oh,
times,
he's
but
been very poor, very poor.
mm, but I wouldn't expect that from Orlov. -10. Um, so yeah, some big question marks. And look, it is quite concerning when your top pair defensemen are +5, +2. Your second pair is +5 and 0, and then your last two are -16 combined. So
Yep.
two defensemen. I'd
Uh,
almost
yeah.
this is this is the situation where the Carlson and Letang thing comes back into it. Like this is a situation where I'd be like, okay, I understand why Burns and Slavin are playing 25 minutes
Mm.
because they don't have a third pair defenseman. But yeah, it's early days, but a couple of real concerning things for the Carolina Hurricanes, that's for sure, and that's why they moved down quite a significant
Mm.
chunk.
No,
Could have
no,
been further.
that's just it, isn't it? Having a look at some of the goals that Carolina have conceded, and like you can pretty much point the finger at D'Angelo, like, oh, that's a turnover purely because of D'Angelo and all that. So I feel like he's been a bit of a crux for Carolina in itself, and then Orlov on that line as well gets to eat that. So yeah, it's not looking good. It's not where like they're still in the top 10, but honestly they're starting to look like not a top 10 team. So honestly, next week they could easily be out of the top 10.
Yeah, 100%. If they don't turn this around, they'll find themselves going the other way pretty quickly.
All
So
right,
yeah.
number 8. Oh, number 9 for
All right.
no, number 9 for you.
Number number 9 for me, and potentially number 8 for you. I've got the New York Rangers.
New York Rangers. I have to check where I've got them. I've got them at 7.
I'm interested to see who you've got an 8. Yeah, I mean, look, what can you say about the Rangers? They get the win against the Arizona Coyotes, a nice tight win. They get beaten pretty convincingly against Nashville, and then they beat Seattle pretty convincingly. So, up and down week for them. Not a terrible start to the season for them. I think, this is a team that's going to be in the playoffs. I can't see them not making it. Um, but yes, so far it's been a bit so-so. Um, Shesterkin's numbers are a bit down, only an 8.879 save percentage, which is really sort of questionable considering Jonathan Quick is 0.964, which I never thought I'd see those days from Jonathan Quick again. But hey, it's only 2 games.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's what a step in after
mm,
Shesterkin got pulled, and then the one game,
yeah,
and yeah, 27 shots, 28 shots, 27 saves for Quick. Honestly, the goal he let up I thought was pretty weak as well. So I'm not convinced on Quick. It's not the backup I'd want, and it is concerning that Shesterkin's having an ordinary start. It is why I could see them stepping down in the future, but I do think that they had a good week. They win 2 out of 3. They beat Seattle. They lose to Nashville. I think's been a really good team, and they beat Arizona, who is a good team. So, um, yeah, pretty hard week in itself, honestly. 2 of those teams in the top 16, and Seattle, who should be better than where they are. So, I think they're looking good. I think Panarin is looking phenomenal. I think he's gonna have another type of season he just looks different and looks really, really good. Heedle looks really, really good on that line. Lafreniere, honestly, only 2 goals, but he looks good. I'd take him any day of the week on my team. So I feel like they're really, really sound. That goaltending and defense needs some work. Wheeler hasn't done anything. That big addition that they had. No points for him. -3. So maybe he was the curse for the Winnipeg Jets.
potentially. But yeah,
All
all
right.
right.
Number 8 for me, I don't think I have to look at it, but I'll just double check. Yeah, I didn't have to. It is the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's right.
Um,
-6 for me.
yeah, they're only one spot higher for me. So I get it. They've moved down only the one, but they've definitely moved down. Very questionable week for them.
Yeah, just not convinced. Obviously the big loss against Chicago early in the week, and then they lose to Florida. Following that, and then OT win against Tampa. Sure, they outshot quite significantly, but they do go to OT. So I got a lot of concerns with Toronto at the moment. It was a flying start, obviously, by the big names like Matthews, but since the double hat trick, he hasn't done anything. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like Marner's always the one that doesn't get talked about enough. I feel like he's been playing all right. Tavares actually looked very decent in regards to being in the ozone at least. And Marner's not Marner, Nylander's having a contract season.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Nylander was always going to do that, right? He's out to prove that he's worth good money because he's saying he wants 10 mil plus, and now he's showing them why. And yeah, look, that Austin Matthews thing, it's funny, isn't it? He scores 2 hat tricks to start the season. Everyone's on this big hype train, and he's done nothing since.
Mm.
So, it's probably consistency there, right? Like scoring a hat trick in those 2 games is great, but if you disappear for the next 10, then
I think that's
it's
always been his problem, right? Like he'll show up,
mm,
he'll win you a game, but then he just won't show up for the next game. like, like I feel like that's always been some sort of a crux for him. In Matthews is that yeah, it's just consistency.
yeah. So and look, same sort of concerns. Their defense and their goaltending continues to be a worry. Although Joseph Walls had a reasonable start. But yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know what else you sort of really say about these guys. I feel like we're gonna see somewhat the same as what we always see. We're going to see their firepower offense really just pull them through, um, and they'll finish top 3 in the Atlantic as always, probably top. But again, it's going to be that defense and that goaltending that really comes into question come playoffs, and whether or not their offense can actually turn up in playoffs. So
Hmm. Well,
yeah,
they
not
bring
not too much.
they bring in like Bertuzzi. He's pretty much been unnoticeable hasn't really done too much. Only the one goal hasn't performed up to what people would expect. And then the obvious addition that I always knew was going to be woeful, but everyone kept hyping up in Toronto, and that's Ryan Reeves. Done nothing, -4, is averaging 7 minutes a game. So yeah, I thought he was going to be like that. He is being like that, and I think just Toronto got on the bandwagon a bit too heavy on him. And look,
Just a thug.
yeah, well that's just it. And this team didn't need that. This team needs depth, and that's not the depth you need. Samsonov's been ordinary. It's conceded 14 goals at 8.831 save percentage. Obviously, whoa, with the one and a bit games, with a 949 save percentage looking better, but I have concerns about the goaltending as well. So that's why they moved down substantially for me. And obviously, just conceding too many goals and overall just 3.8 per game, just leaking, and it comes down to just depth, defense, as we always talk about with Leafs, and now goaltending as well.
Yeah, 100%.
All right,
All right,
number
on
6.
to number 6. All right, so this is a team that really only swapped with Toronto because of Toronto's week. I don't think they had a great week either. It's the New Jersey Devils.
All right,
I
I
still
have
think
Devils
they're
here as well.
at 6, yeah. Look, I still think they are one of the more potent teams in the league, and their slow start isn't too worrying because you know where they can go with it. Um, Jack Hughes doing Jack Hughes things on pace for 200 points or whatever. It's ridiculous. But the real question marks around, Nico Hischier, injured obviously, shouldn't be too long, but yet to put up a point. Timo Meyer yet to score a goal. Um, the likes of Alexander Holtz coming into the lineup has yet to hit the scoreboard either. Dawson Mercer, um, yet to hit the scoreboard as well. And then, the goaltending worries for them.
Yeah,
Schmid
well, they're
and Vanacek,
both below 900.
yep, both conceding goals that they shouldn't be. Defensive mishaps, like I said this the other day watching them, like they've got Simone Nemec in the wings. Um, they've got Colin Miller, whether or not he's actually any better, but I'd prefer to see a Simone Nemec making a rookie mistake than watching Brendan Smith make rookie mistake after rookie mistake after rookie mistake as a goddamn veteran.
Mm.
Like it's okay when your rookies make it. Like Luke Hughes has made a few mistakes this year, but you're like he's a rookie, he's learning. He'll be better for it. A Brendan Smith at 34 years old isn't going to be better for making rookie mistake after rookie mistake. And everyone's allowed to make mistakes, but it's time and time and time again. And I just feel like, why have you got him in when you could literally be having a rookie who's or one of the other? You got who is it? Cal Foot. He's a young lad. Let's see what he can do. He played a lot of games for Tampa. Why wouldn't you put him into the lineup, like, or at least give Miller a try? I don't understand after the first couple of games with the mistakes Brendan Smith did. I don't understand why the change wasn't made, why they kept with him. And that's one of my concerns. I'm just not sure that they've got that defensive structure and that goaltending sorted out yet. And if they don't get more goal production outside of Hamilton, Hughes, and Rat, um, the defensive woes and the goaltending could be a real issue.
Mm. No, you pretty much summed it up there. I think Jack Hughes gets over the 100 points this year. About I'd honestly say around 120 mark. I feel like he could hit. My big concern is how many players are negative in the plus minus, considering how high they were last year in the plus minus category with players like Graves and Tatar and whatnot. So that is the concern there. But there's a lot of improvement to be made. The goaltending, I know Fitzgerald's still in the market for a goaltender, and we have seen some teams with goaltending issues. So we could see some goaltender carousel at some point before the deadline. And other than that, like they're scoring a lot. Need to shore up the goals conceded. probably need to work on the PK just a little bit more. But they're six. It's not a strong six for me.
No, and like if they continue playing the way they're playing, I can see them dropping. The one thing I wouldn't mind seeing from them though, just on that, is if they could just win in shootout and then lose in OT, because I really want to know if any teams ever started off the season winning and losing one of every single kind. Because
Hmm.
they've already won one in regulation, won one in overtime, lost in shootout, and lost in regulation. So that's their first four games. It's a weird stat that I'd be interested to see if anyone's ever done. Um, but yeah,
All right.
definitely need some improvement out of that team.
All right. Without further ado, the top five to begin it. I have the Dallas Stars. Um, moving up two positions for me.
They go down a position for me.
They had another all right week. Two wins, one loss. They had a shootout loss against Vegas, so they took it to Vegas all the way. Win against Anaheim, though not super convincing, and then they go to OT and win it in OT against Philly after conceding three shorties. Honestly, lucky to come out of that with 2 points, even the 1 point. Honestly, so a bit fortunate there. It's a shaky five for me. They haven't looked their strongest. They are still Dallas with Robertson and Hintz being what they are. Pavelski winning the game winner. It's just yeah, like they're just super strong. Ottinger's having a great start to the season. Only conceded the 5 goals so far in 3 games, and Wedgwood's not been a bad backup by any means. Still at 900, so good signs from them. I think they needed to up the scoring just a little bit. Whether that's on the power play, they have a perfect PK so far, but they're not at their full throttle yet. So that is my
Yeah,
concern with Dallas.
yeah, it was a little bit concerning. I was not really sure what to do with them. That's why they moved down a position for me. I was like, I don't feel like they're a top five right now, but their numbers say, that they've only dropped the 1 point, so it's kind of hard to punish them too much. But yeah, three short-handed goals against a team like Philly, they were lucky to get the result in the end. But yeah, let's see. They're getting the results, and sometimes that's key when you're not playing your best. If you can still get the results, it goes a long way. So
Alrighty, now number four.
sorry, my thing just did some weird things. Um, I have at number four this team making an absolute jump. Just they are impressive, man. The Detroit Red Wings.
Yes.
They are playing some of the best hockey that you'll watch at the moment. They're just ridiculous. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like I'm watching every game with just ridiculous intent because they can score at will and their defense has been relatively solid on top of that. So yeah, it's crazy. And DeBrincat has found his groove with Detroit, something he couldn't find with Ottawa. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else you say about it. They're playing good hockey. They're quick. They are fast. I remember doing a video about Detroit and a couple of the fans you commented they just don't have the speed. Well, you've got the speed. You look fast. You look scarily fast, which is just insane. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever they're doing, they just need to keep it up, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think they probably got one of the best combos right now in Debrika and Larkin, both leading the league in points. They just look really fire. Honestly, I love watching Debrincat score
Oh,
over all players probably in the league. His smile, I don't know what it is, man. Like he just has a handsome smile or something. It lights you up. Like it's like gives you energy. And I could feel that like if I was a player with him, it would just give me energy to keep playing harder. And yeah, I cannot get over him scoring because of that smile. Him and Larkin just great chemistry. It's just working well at the moment. Obviously, this has been a roller coaster team for many seasons, so hopefully they don't hit a road bump. Um, but so far, things are looking really good. Obviously, being pulled along by the DeBrincat Larkin combo. Reimer's having a good season. Huso's been serviceable at 900, but Reimer had a really good game. He's only conceded two in the two games he's played, so that's been really good. Their power play working, penalty kills working, everything's working at the moment. And like you said, they're playing with speed, which they haven't always done in the past. And now that they got DeBrincat, I feel like this really sparks some speed with Larkin.
Yeah, 100%. And that power play unit, outside of probably the Devils, is those two are probably the standout, especially with the way they're moving the puck. The ability to go from one side of the ice to the other side of the ice in a matter of seconds, just with crisp passing has been the highlight of and one of the reasons why they've been so deadly on the power play. So. Um, great signs so far from Detroit. And yeah, look, hopefully they keep it up because we did see this from them last year, right? Where they'd win six in a row and then they'd lose six in a row.
Mm.
So hopefully it's not one of those. It definitely doesn't look like it's going to be that because I haven't seen Detroit play like this in forever.
Mm.
They look scary.
Honestly, should
And
be team number one, but the other three just undefeated.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, right. What it's hard. Like you could have argued that they could have been higher up because they are probably playing the best hockey out of any of these teams. So if they keep going, they might find themselves at number one pretty soon.
All right. Number three for me, I have Boston Bruins. Team that's undefeated has looked a bit shaky. It's why they're not the top of my undefeated teams. Which that LA game they probably could have lost that. LA was playing really good, but they come out with a win, and that's what good teams do. Obviously beating San Jose, and yeah, like they get the two wins of the week, undefeated. Zach has been good on the first line with Marchand and Pasternak. I don't know what much more to say. Like their goaltending tandem, like we know it's probably the best in the league, and it's showing that they're still the best in the league. And that's really it. Everyone's just sitting here waiting for the slump to hit, really, if it does hit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting. I think everyone was expecting them to sort of fall away and fall off the face of the earth, but they've still got a lot of they've still got both their goaltenders. Their defense is pretty much untouched in a sense, and their forwards they still have Pastor, they still have Marchand, they've still got the potency. Van Riemsdyk's been pretty decent inclusion so far, so. Um, yeah, look, I can. They know how to play, and they've got a good defensive structure as well as the ability to score. So, um, yeah, look, there was a reason why I predicted that they'd finish second in the Atlantic still, and they're proving that so far. The question's just going to be, can they
Hmm.
maintain it?
Now, I
Only
think
time will tell.
I think Marchand's got a big kick in his gear for just being captain as well. I think he's taking it super seriously, and I think that's working well in the locker room and on the ice as well. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
But
no,
but I
makes
guess
sense.
we can do number two and see if we have the same order or not.
Oh, look, I'd be very surprised if we didn't. But at number two, I've got the Colorado Avalanche.
All right, I've got the same.
Yeah, it's very hard to go away from the number one, but yeah, look, my top three remained unchanged this week, and Colorado just continue on, and they're playing really well. I know you said before, off air, just them and Vegas are in a league of their own at the moment,
Mm.
and it's good to see, with no Landeskog, the fact that they're putting up the performances they're putting up. Um, yeah, it is really good to see because this team, you didn't want to see them fall off. Like I know they've won their cup, but the team that they've got, they should be a lot stronger than what they showed last season for a bit there. They struggled with injuries and then obviously getting kicked out in the first round. It was extremely disappointing. And it's good to see them straight back in and bouncing back pretty hard.
Yeah. Everything's been going good. There's only one player in the negative plus minus, and that's ex New Jersey Miles Wood, who only has the one goal, and he's only a -1. So it's a full team effort, like it always has been. I'd probably say Rantanen, who's 4 goals, 4 assists, he probably just needs to shoot more. Like he's probably their best shot on the team, and sometimes he's just looking for passes a little bit too much. And you just probably, as a fan, you probably want to see him shoot it more than anyone. Um, Other than that, I guess my only concern is they've only played Gorgiev. They haven't played any other goaltender. So kind of like Florida here with Bobrovsky, you don't know what their backup is going to look like at the moment. So I guess that's the only negative, if that's a negative you could point out, is not knowing what your backup goaltender is going to do at the moment. But Gorgiev's solidified himself as number one pretty easily with how he's been playing, and they're going to ride him probably 60 plus games this year, I'd say.
For sure.
All right,
Um, all right. Well, I don't think there's any point wasting any time. We all know who's at number one.
all right. It is San Jose at.
Yeah. Well, plot twist.
All right.
Vegas Golden Knights. What more can you say? They break the record. The team that won the Stanley Cup, the most wins, undefeated to start the season. Um, so yeah, absolute phenomenal
Yeah,
from a Vegas standpoint. Um,
hasn't been super
yeah,
convincing though. They go to shootout against Dallas. So one of the wins is through shootout, which is basically a draw. They get outshot by Winnipeg, and Winnipeg took it to them. And then they get the same amount of shots against Chicago and concede 3 against Chicago, but still get the win. Like you said, I guess you can run on the tandem again if you wanted, but just how easy their schedule has been, it's
yeah, that's my only thing.
mm. And that's why it's a shaky first, but I couldn't demote them because they didn't do anything wrong when they were first last week. So, but honestly, with how easy their run has been, I can see them dropping off a bit just purely because of that. And once they come against some of the top end teams, though they did face Dallas this week.
Yeah, no, it's just, and this is like not to take anything away from them because I still do think they're playing good hockey, but that's also a frustration is they're a good hockey team and they've been gifted like almost a perfect month. Like their first 10 games, like I said, they play 6 teams that at the start of the season you'd probably have said, well, they play 5 teams over 6 games. Those 5 teams, that's probably your bottom five
Mm.
potentially. Like if I was to pick a bottom five at the start of the season, I'm probably going, yep, San Jose at 32, Anaheim at 31, Chicago at 30, and then probably your Montreal and your Philly. Um, I I'm not sure who else I would throw into that.
You
Um,
probably only got the Caps, and that's it. That
oh
that
yeah,
that that,
Washington,
that
yeah,
that's your bottom six through and through at the start of the season, and they get 5 of
yeah,
them.
yeah. Well, and 5 of them over 6 games. So if you're a Vegas player, you're loving life. Like you get a relatively smooth transition into the season. You get a couple of wins under your belt, and then you get to really hit the ground running come November. So especially when some of the harder games come in. But yeah, I guess look, it's just how the fixture falls sometimes. But it was just one thing I noticed that frustrated me a little bit because when I saw Nashville's start compared to Vegas's start, and I'm like, well, that should probably be flipped.
Hmm.
But look, it is what it is. Vegas still playing some extremely good hockey, still putting up really good numbers, and there's not too much you can say negatively about them because, like I said, the fixture's not on them. They can only play who they get put up against. That's what they've done, and they've gotten the results and they've put in the performances. So, yeah, 100% great start to their uh, cup defense, and yeah, let's see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Great goaltending from Thompson and Hill. All the stats are really good. All their players are playing really good, honestly. Eichel, Theodore, Stevenson. even Carlson's having a great start of the season, where he's been a bit somewhat average in the past few seasons. So Marchessault could kick it up at any time. Yeah, they could only get scarier, I could see, and we'll have to wait and see if they get a harder roster. But if that's the end there, I guess we can wrap it up. And
Yep.
thanks for hanging out. Seeing our power rankings. Let us know what you think below in the comments and what you think of our rankings, where you would see any changes. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content where we do some news, some shorts, and more power rankings every Sunday, every week for us. But yeah, till next time, we'll catch you later, guys.
See you guys.